Welcome everyone. I'm Rangadad. This is not financial advice. This is just the way I'm looking at the market. Very interesting day today on Bitcoin in particular. I'm very surprised we didn't just go straight up to this level, this 60 odd thousand. And kind of think it's going to be an interesting couple of days here because that's a pretty big rejection. If we finish here on the daily, it's a pretty big rejection of that 200 EMA. Yeah, you would think the buyers are exhausted if this is the case, but that whole move was done pretty quickly and retraced relatively quickly as well. So could be a little fake out to the upside to suck in some longs, which it's in the process of eating at the moment. So yeah, just very surprised it didn't go all the way up there, but it is what it is. You can't expect the markets to do what you think they're going to do. I'll very quickly just have a look at, okay, so NASDAQ and S&P 500. Wow, that's a big move on the S&P 500. Over 1%. Okay. Nvidia is up again. Still struggling to reclaim this full candle, but it's working towards it. The equal weight got a bump today as well. So we might have just had our little pause last week. Might be going into the full blow off top run at the moment. Equal weight NASDAQ is same. It's broken out again. IWM, I mean, it's looking healthier, but it's getting a little bit of love on the bull market indicator. Still nothing to really write home about. Still within that range. So until we see a decent breakout, wouldn't expect too much. I mean, if the IWM breaks above this 210, then I'd be kind of surprised, but it's certainly possible if we have a big run into the end of the year. And I think I overheard something about people thinking that rate cuts are coming now based on what Powell's been saying at this testimony. So maybe that's driving this, but it's certainly not underlying fundamentals, I wouldn't think. XLY, XLP still hasn't quite come into this resistance here. Sorry, another yawn. DJI, still nothing to write home about. DAX, interesting retracement of that candle. Back above the moving averages. That looked nasty yesterday. I mean, quite often on normal markets, you will get a retracement like that. The fact that it's finished inside means it might not be done yet, but to the downside, that is. But generally, the rest of the world does follow the US to a degree, so pretty big day on the US stock markets. Dixie is down a little again. We do have a drop off in the global liquidity as well. So interesting that the S&P 500 and NASDAQ have actually gone up so much with a drop in global liquidity. Volatility of the VIX. VIX is still climbing a little bit, so showing there's a little bit of volatility out there still. High yield junk. Ooh, pushing the top of this. Seems to be, yeah. That little downturn didn't last long. Market seems to be going bullish again already. Like, see how long it lasts. Might only last into the end of the week because we are still on the. Well, looks like we're on a bit of a rollover of the skew anyway. See how we go. Copper is up a little. Yeah. Nothing to really. Nothing to really write home about. Wouldn't surprise me if gold jumped a little here. Little bit of a retrace, but I mean, there's a bit of a wick to the upside there. But it wouldn't surprise me if it came up into here. We are in the bullish control zone on the stochastic there, so couldn't really call a move down at the moment. Where are we? Japanese yen is still dropping, so yeah, I definitely don't think these 3 up days were the intervention from the central bank there. Euro US still struggling, coiling a little bit at the moment, so might be trying to get enough momentum to actually break through that 800 EMA. Wait and see. The 10-year spread still not looking healthy, looking like a bit of a bear flag at the moment. Yeah, both the 2-year and the 10-year have dropped a little bit, so the market's definitely expecting interest rates to come down sooner rather than later. I'll look at this. Stocks above the 50-day moving averages had a nice little bump as well. So that's suggesting a bit of breadth in this move. Right. Oil's had a little bounce as well. Still downtrend, so doesn't mean too much at the moment, but just keep an eye on it. Mag 7 actually didn't have as big a day as probably the stock market in general, so a bit of breadth for a change in the move, which again is normally an indicator that you'll go a bit higher. There's a little run left, and have a quick look at, actually I was going to have a quick look at Tesla. Do I have that handy? There it is. Tesla's been on a pretty crazy run, but looks like this is going to provide a little bit of resistance, which you would expect. I mean, even Tesla, it can go on some pretty nuts runs, but it tends to find a little bit of resistance at key levels. Yeah, still potentially a little bit to go there. Hong Kong market still struggling. I mean, that kind of looks like a retest of the 200 EMA there. Could suggest further downside, but maybe a little bit of coiling. So I think we said it did need to find support around here too, from memory. Yeah, it needs to find some support there. If we break below that, I don't know whether they'll. Well, I mean, it looks like there probably would be support around the 786 level, but it's not the strongest position to bounce off typically in terms of fib retracements. Yeah, Amazon's looking a bit flat. Meta's up a little, but still not looking super healthy. AMD's breaking out a little though. Big volume on AMD. Looks like it's trying to break this level here, which I think we had in there as a resistance level on one of the previous videos, but it's not something I look at too much. Quick look at Sol before we get into the lower time frames on Bitcoin. It's struggling a little. Retest of the 50 EMA there. Recovery of most of this vector candle as well. So typically you look to get at least a 50% recovery of the vector. Matic has had a better day than most, but it has definitely been smashed more than most too. It's down 50% from the highs in March, roughly. So just want to have a look at IMX while I'm here. Dickhead. The IMX is basing around this 200 daily, which is only quite fresh. Just interested in this one because it is, I think, going to be one of the bigger gaming plays in the next bull run. Seems to be basing a bit. That's cool. All right, into the lower time frames on BTC, I think. Just quickly on this one, we have come back into this highly traded zone, so we still could go either way from here, but obviously top side target is still that 60k. Bottom side target's actually still around this 54k. We may not come all the way down to this, but we're getting a lot of rejection at this point. We could actually see back down into at least the 51k level. That is still definitely a possibility, but it would probably come on the back of some bigger turmoil in the markets. So start at the 15, because yesterday we were talking about this sort of wedge pattern in here. Where you take it doesn't really matter too much, but basically it was shaping up like it wanted to be a breakout of this level. I think I was gonna, just this sort of level in general was looking like a pretty good breakout from a base perspective in terms of that being a W formation. I mean, we broke out of there with strength, like good volume sort of strength. I did expect that to follow through. I was glad to see a little bit of a downturn, and the guys in the Discord will know. But I did also expect it to find support, at least at that 800 EMA there, but we've actually broken through the 800 and the 200 on the 15-minute, which is suggesting that this could have just been a false breakout. Well, it's pretty well confirmed as a false breakout on the 15-minute at the moment. Can Bitcoin reverse and head back up? Yeah, of course it can. These patterns are never 100%, but I guess the theory in here that we've had a lot of volume soaked up without really dropping through and falling to new lows is still valid. As we said yesterday, this sort of area in line with the bottom of this wick is probably the key area. So you're looking in here somewhere, which is potentially down to that 54, high 54s. There isn't a lot in here for it to come back to. Like most of the imbalances were resolved here. There is still a little bit of imbalance here, but it doesn't necessarily have to come back to that. And there's obviously a little bit of imbalance here, but again, most of that kind of got resolved. So it's still looking negative in terms of we may try and retrace this and retouch the bottom of this channel. I mean, it is fairly typical for an ascending channel like this to actually retest a couple of times, but what we've got to also look out for is the fact that this could be forming a bear flag as well on the higher time frames. So, you know, we could essentially be doing what we did here in terms of drop, sideways, drop, sideways, drop. Hence the bear flag. So yeah, just worthwhile keeping that in mind. It's not. I still think this is more of a basing pattern, but it's definitely not. Like the market's pretty tumultuous at the moment. It doesn't seem to want to make its mind up in any given direction at the moment. So down onto the 5 minute. The bot did pick up this move reasonably early, which is good. Be interesting if we get down to here. I think I've just marked off a couple of the vectors that are left on the 5 minute as well on the way down. So I think these would be areas where you'd expect a bounce or at least some sideways for a bit. I think going into the Asia session, it wouldn't surprise me if we dropped and sort of hit this level and then just chopped sideways for a little bit, and then Asia will decide which way we go from there. Yeah, that's about it, really. I think it's pretty interesting that we've come back into this zone after a false breakout. It does suggest more downside, but I just, at the moment, unless we get, again, just big volumes of sellers coming through, unless we actually get that, I just don't see us going too much lower than this area here, in the short term at least. See how the banks go in terms of their earnings and stuff this week. That could be a catalyst for it. I think there's some other news and stuff coming out, but just quickly with the liquidation heat map as well. So there is quite a bit of liquidity down here that it could come into. Yeah, it's seems likely at this point. It did leave quite a bit up here, but I guess at the time it was coming into that, the shorts weren't really there with the stop losses. So I guess it kind of made sense to reverse at that point. But if you go out to the longer time frames, there's still quite a bit of liquidity up higher. So there was actually a bit more for it to take, unless these people have taken their profits along the way, and it doesn't reflect that. I'm actually not sure if this is reflecting changes in liquidity as well. So if people take their trades off, whether that actually gets reflected, probably should find that out. So yeah, I mean, realistically, stopping somewhere around that 56,600, which I think we had marked off, is probably not a bad level. But definitely that 60 is still on the cards in the medium term. All right. So yeah, potentially still a bit choppy. Be looking for bases and then probably grinds up again. But if we come back to the daily, it's, potentially today we could see move down and then sort of another retest of these levels, and then we might start to break up again. It's a dangerous one trying to pick it on the longer time frames at the moment. The 4 hours actually postured to the downside as well. That W pattern's actually more prevalent on the 4 hour too, as you can see. And look, this could be a basing level for that W as well, like coming back into there and then moving out. It's certainly a possibility. It's just trying to pick where that turn's going to be and whether we do actually turn. You kind of want to see it happen first before you get too excited at this point. Just checking the CC, Crypto Capital Enterprises indicator. The last major signal was bearish on the 4 hour, but actually this is an old version. I need to update this. But yeah, not a hell of a lot to say either way there at the moment. It's starting to turn more bullish, I would say. Yeah. Lendl Pro. Easy Trader, I need to update this as well. He's got a new version of this out, but it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment as well. So not getting a huge amount of edge off any of the particular indicators, just apart from, the 5 minute is still bearish at the moment until noted otherwise. We're still very much below a lot of key moving averages. It is seeming to respect the 200 and the 800 EMA on the 5 minute quite well at the moment. So yeah, the 5 minutes going to give you probably the best idea of which direction it's going at the moment, depending on how you trade. Probably not a bad DCA level still, this sort of region that we're in. Yeah, all right.